Okay, just start in right now, or
Yep.
give it a couple seconds.
Give it a couple seconds. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, world. Welcome to another episode of Midnight's Edge After Dark. We are live, doing it to you right here.
We've got
That's
breaking
right.
news live, indeed.
We got
Yes.
breaking
We're
news
working.
live here. Dateline Hollywood. So yes, we're here with a special edition, and we're waiting on a special guest to join us. But with me, as always, is Mr. Tom Connors.
How are we doing, sir?
Oh, we're doing okay. And I am, of course, your narrator supreme, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo, coming to you live from Shabby Road Studios in the heart of somewhere. From the heart of the gaping maw from Solo, a Star Wars story.
Well, speaking of Star Wars and a Solo story and all that good stuff, we've got some breaking news as we set up front. We've been sitting on this rumor for a few days, but as it happens, we don't always run with something because we don't want to be that guy and run a stupid rumor that's not true. Well, all these other organizations are running with this rumor, so why shouldn't we be the same? That's right, the rumor's coming down. Tell us all about it, Rob.
Yes, actually, a lot of places are running with this. This comes to us, actually, Screen Rant is where we're sourcing this from. Star Wars rumor, Kathleen Kennedy stepping down from Lucasfilm. Dun, dun, dun. This actually is coming to us from a man named Mr. Cooper Hood. Kathleen Kennedy may leave Lucasfilm if the latest Star Wars rumor is true. Following decades of producing massive hits from Steven Spielberg, like Indiana Jones franchise, E.T., Jurassic Park, as well as Robert Zemeckis' back, Kennedy joined Lucasfilm at the perfect time and was named co-chair with George Lucas. Once Disney officially bought Lucas's studio, Kennedy was put completely in charge and immediately began working on a way to bring Star Wars back to prominence. With the launch of The Force Awakens in 2015, Kennedy proved why she was given this task. The film broke almost every record in the book. That wasn't enough, though. The studio moved towards making anthology films like Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Once again was a major hit. Last year saw the launch of The Last Jedi, a film that divided fans, but one Kennedy backed and seemingly doubled down on by giving director Ryan Roundhead Johnson a trilogy. All his own. Oh, that's mean, but I love it.
We have a little bit more to that, too, but keep going.
Now, Solo, a Star Wars story, is disappointing at the box office, and this could all lead to Kennedy possibly leaving the studio. Let me finish this article, actually. What is about to come should be taken with a major grain of salt. Dork Side of the Force shared an excerpt from the latest edition of the Ankler newsletter that says there is talk of Kennedy stepping down in September. The report doesn't specify any direct sources, making this sound like rumor more than anything. Adding another layer of uncertainty to the report is that Ankler is a paid subscription newsletter that costs $45 for a yearly subscription. So we cannot verify the excerpt shared by Dork Side of the Force is if it's in fact legit. With that said, here's what the Ankler had to say. Now this is coming from the Ankler. While Kathleen Kennedy worked wonders relaunching this property from the abyss with Lucas' prequel trilogy and turning into a bigger than ever all-devouring cultural force, there has to be more than some thought that it's time. There has to be more than some thought that it's time to. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, some
They
people
probably
think it's
wrote
more
it as
time for
fast
new
as
blood.
we did
Yeah.
going live, but yeah.
Anyways, they think there's time for new blood at the helm. The talk out there is of a September changing of the guards. We'll see.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people actually calling for Kathleen Kennedy to step down.
Yeah.
It was fair to say that we're one of them.
I've come to that distinction, yes. And, the thing that's important about this is not so much the rumor, but the fact that now that for us, this makes it multiple sources that this rumor is coming from. So that may lend some truth to this. And Kathleen Kennedy has been awfully quiet since Solo's release. We have not seen nor heard anything from her that I know of. So there could be some truth to this. After the box office performance of Solo, especially after the second weekend, I can see a lot of truth to this. I'm sure a lot of the people higher up at Disney are not happy. And ever since, you got to look at it this way, box office aside, ever since the Force Awakens, they've had nothing but trouble behind the scenes with every one of the films that have come out. Well, okay, you could say The Last Jedi supposedly didn't have trouble behind the scenes unless you count the fact that they tossed out the treatment, and evidently there's rumors, and even Mark Hamill himself has kind of let on the fact that he wasn't even real happy with the script to begin with for various reasons. So, I mean, there's a lot going on there, not to mention all the directors they've gone through.
Oh, I have to plug this in. Sorry, you are echoing.
And we have our guest joining us. This is Ren from Ren Rants. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. I promise I am not dead. I've gotten a bunch of concerned comments from the few people who actually are keeping up with my channel, and they're just like, "You haven't posted a video for a while. You doing okay there, friend?"
Yeah, well, life gets in the way sometimes. Yeah.
So, Ren,
I mean, it's not even that. I've just been doing depression naps a lot.
Oh, we don't want to see you depressed.
Oh, that's
they are a bummer, but I'm doing okay otherwise.
And we want to thank ST Fanboy for his $5 donation. Thank you so much. Now, Ren, are you up to speed on this whole Kennedy mess going down, or the rumor of it anyway?
I heard whisperings that she was planning to peace out of Star Wars. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's actually what we're here discussing here, about how the rumor is she might step out in September. Actually, I heard another rumor that possibly the guy who's head of Pixar might be taking her place.
Yeah, Dave Filoni's a name that keeps flying around in the fans' mouths. Now, there is a few other parts to this rumor that, from our source, that we will say definitely take these with a grain of salt, because these are not part of the other rumors. Okay, so this is all completely unverified in any way. We don't even have a secondary rumor to confirm these.
Okay, but what is more fun than unverified speculation on the internet?
And that is that not only is Kathleen Kennedy stepping down, but Rian Johnson's trilogy is done. It is off the table. And the other...
Hey, goodbye, Roundhead.
And the other possible rumor, and this is why, at first, one of the reasons why I didn't really run with this and why we didn't really put too much validity to it, because it just didn't sound true, and that was that JJ was also going to be stepping down as well. That I don't buy. No. Because if I remember correctly, I think Bad Robot is a producing partner on the film, so I doubt that.
They're too far along now, really.
Right, I mean, that too. But, I mean, and if anything, Disney's going to look at it, despite what a lot of fans may feel out there, Disney's going to look at it as the only hit they've had so far in this instance, where people weren't just, up in arms over the film, was The Force Awakens. Yeah, it had some detractors, but it wasn't nearly as divisive as The Last Jedi and Solo have been, basically. Yeah. So, Ren, what's your feelings on this? And then we'll go to some questions from you guys out there. And we'll get Rob's feelings too, sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I'm not really sure how I feel about it, just because clearly there are things that are not working, but I'm just not that confident that anyone they replace her with would necessarily, be the missing piece in the puzzle that solves all of these issues.
That's one way to look at it.
And I almost worry that the people we know are almost usually kind of more trustworthy than the ones we don't, in terms of established franchises, I think, and in terms of caring at all about previous things. And so I'm just not sure. It really depends who they would bring in as a new person if she steps down.
Yeah. Well, the big problem is they definitely need a Kevin Feige type. And one of the things I heard today, I'm not going to name the source, but there was a rumor floating around with this one, that somebody named Kiri Hart from the story group would be, if Kathleen Kennedy was allowed to pick her successor, that she would be leaning toward her, and she's supposed to be even worse. So
no.
let's hope that doesn't come to pass. Let's hope Bob Iger steps in and says, no. We need a professional here. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, at this point,
Mary.
I don't know. I think that the modern Star Wars movies might be more than a little bit unsalvageable, because I think there's just like so many cooks and also just so much cash incentives to do certain things that even if I feel like even if they did get like a stellar writing team, a stellar team of producers, you know, and like really put some love into it, I still think the studios would find a way to fuck it all up. I feel like Disney would still ruin it because you know, they know what they want in terms of what they think are going to make people come and watch the movies. They don't actually really care that much if the product itself is good.
That is a good point, because we've brought it up a few times, but being that we're Midnight's Edge and we love Marvel, it seems, you know, that's as we're pegged. We're also pegged as Disney lovers. We're generally the first ones to come out and say, you know, Disney doesn't really have a really good track record outside of Marvel right now. Anything else they've tried, like the Pirates movies have gone downhill. You know, they've spent how much money on all these other...
was the first one. Like, the second Pirates movie was, like, okay. And then the third one, you're just like, why did you do this? And the fourth one, you're like, do you even know why people liked the first one? And then I haven't even watched any of the other ones, or if I have, they were so forgettable that I literally don't remember watching them.
Well, then the same thing with their animated films. It's like every other animated film that's not a Pixar film is
these
a
remakes
flop.
are also killing me.
God, and
like
even
the
that's
live
another
action remakes are such a sad cash grab, and they're always worse than the original animated films. Like, and I'm just like, you have more money, you have a medium that now allows you to do all of these things, and you're still doing a worse job. Like, maybe you shouldn't tell this story again then. Fuck.
I hated Beauty and the Beast. To me, it was like, what was the point? You're going to watch an animated, CGI animated Beast? I'd rather just watch the real animated Beast. And then the director...
The original Beauty and the Beast told a better story in a shorter amount of time than this movie did. Like, they added so much unnecessary stuff and, like, cut out things that were important to the story, and I'm like, this is not a good product. What were you doing? And Maleficent just made her teethless. Sorry, I'm like getting off on Disney now.
Well, I was about to say, but this Beauty and the Beast was more woke because LeFou might be gay.
Okay, so here's the thing. So, as someone who like thinks that representation is important, this stuff actually really pisses me off, because they didn't actually make him like very explicitly gay, and then the way they queer coded it, it was always like played off as like a joke.
I've never heard that before. I love that.
Well, basically, queer coding is the idea that you make a character that's like supposed to be implied to be gay, or implied to be this race, or implied to be this or that, but you don't have the balls to actually make that character that thing. You just want little wokeness points from the leftists, but you don't want to piss off the conservatives, so you're left with this like sloppy, toothless, lazy thing that isn't good representation for anyone, and like actively makes the story worse most of the time.
Kind of like what they tried to do with Lando Calrissian, right? That's kind
of... by making him...
I did not see the new Solo movie yet, but I did see the trailer, and it did not look great.
Well, you and about 2/3 of America didn't go to see Solo, or the world for that matter.
That's because no one wants to see Han Solo's backstory.
Yeah, it's true, and we just talked about this, with Matt Matt last night.
Yeah, I keep saying, the way there's no better way to make a character less interesting than to tell his origin story. And Han Solo was a character you didn't need to tell the origin story.
A weird example that is kind of analogous to that is, you remember how fucking amazing Silence of the Lambs was? How bad Hannibal Rising was?
I've never actually seen Silence of the Lambs, just because I'm not a horror fan of in any sort.
I would say it's more thriller than horror, and it's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. It's fantastic. The sequel and the prequel, though.
Film, Rob.
The sequel and the prequel, though, are just bad. The Hannibal is not nearly as good. It's just not nearly as good. And then the prequel, they just come up with the most boring backstory in the universe for him, and it's so stupid.
My problem with the prequel is actually, if you see, I seen Manhunter the movie before I seen Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah,
and Manhunter is actually the original adaptation.
Red Dragon.
Yes, and see, that book actually did come out first. So if you've actually seen them in that succession, in reality, it's like Silence of the Lambs is actually more of a ripoff of Red Dragon. In retrospect, but since they did the movies backwards, most people just totally disavow Red Dragon.
Well, Red Dragon's a really different story. I loved Red Dragon. I actually thought that was a really well made movie. I really liked that. I think I actually liked Red Dragon better than Manhunter, just because like you just can't beat Anthony Hopkins. You just can't beat him. Although the version they made that they actually called Manhunter was really good too.
I like the parody of Silence of the Lambs on the Critic. Coming up, the sequel to Silence of the Lambs, Honey, I Ate the Kids. Yeah,
it stinks. Okay, now back on Kennedy and Star Wars and all that. Let's see what some of the people out there want to ask us as far as questions. What do you guys want to ask us pertaining to this situation?
Yeah, if you guys have like any questions, we're gonna field some questions. Meanwhile, actually, you know what? We were saying about Solo. The next up, they want to do a Boba Fett movie. It seems like they threw Solo under the bus by announcing a Boba Fett movie or Obi-Wan movie, whatever, the exact same day that was supposed to.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think it seemed more like it was to distract from Solo. But we do have our first question here. Willie Woodward, sorry. I disagree with you on the origin. If they made Solo as someone along the lines of Man of No Name, well, I guess it depends on what you mean by that, as far as like, I just felt my problems with it, besides just Orlin Redenbacher not being able to act, or at least play Solo convincingly, was the fact that he had a complete story arc within the movie that negates the following films. So in a way, you're probably right if I'm understanding you correctly, in that a Man with No Name type version of Solo would have been better. Yeah, because then he'd be more mysterious and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like there are ways you could have done an interesting pre-Star Wars movie about Han Solo, but I think you would have to be very strategic with how much you give away of his backstory. And a lot of the criticisms that I've seen are basically that they just kind of were really wishy-washy with his character, because the problem is he has a good arc in the Star Wars trilogy where, you have a clear starting point with this character, you have a clear ending point that you've built to. And so if you're going to do a prequel, you need to either pick a different arc and like start from a different starting point and then basically end him at the starting point of the next series, or you need to that's pretty much the best way you could do it, in my opinion. You would have to have an arc for him, and I feel like the way they wrote it, like they were too scared to give him a story. I didn't see the movie myself yet, so this is based on what I've like read from other people talking about it. But
one of the things I actually, Mundane Matt, and Tom, I think Tom, you said this too. One of the things they got wrong was that they never allowed him to be the hero of his own movie. Actually, Doomcock said that as well.
Well, yeah, he was, but he wasn't. Yeah, because
the idea, this idea, well, he's not a hero yet. I'm like, okay, the hero is just a figurative term. They never allowed him to kick ass in his own movie. It seemed like.
I was gonna say, yeah, be more Han Solo like, because really he had, anytime he tried to come off as suave, he came off smarmy. Anytime he tried to come off cocksure, he came off cocky. It's like, anytime he tried to do something like Harrison Ford, it just come off like, he just didn't know how to do it. And you could argue, oh, well, he's young and he's still trying to learn all that. And Matt and I, and you got into this last night about it a little bit, and I still feel everything in that movie was nothing but pandering. And at the same time, the problem with it is they don't even know how to pander to the fans right. And they've gotten to that point. And then we have the whole L3, Droid Lives Matter, Pando Calrissian situation.
Oh,
so,
yeah. So, okay.
But, yeah, we do have some questions.
I actually have thoughts on that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Quick.
Go ahead, Ren. Go ahead.
Okay. So, like, this is also partially, I will give credit, like, the main reason I have an opinion on the Droid Lives Matter crap is I did go through and I, watched Jenny Nicholson's review on why Solo sucked. And one of the things she pointed out was basically that, like, first of all, like, Val's like technically right, like she is literally, like enslaved technically, like, yeah, but if you're gonna do that, like the way they executed it is just really weird, where like everyone basically alternates between like being really invalidating about it and pretending she doesn't have a point, and then arguing that she does. And there's no real consistency with how they handle it. And like if you're going to do a storyline like that, like I guess you can, but like it doesn't make sense to do it in a prequel when we already know that nothing is going to change in terms of how droids are treated. So like,
right. Well, and then not only that, she gets enslaved inside the Falcon in the end too. So.
Yeah, exactly. So she's never liberated ever, and like, I guess she's just okay with it in the end. And it's like, I don't understand why you would write a character arc like that, or like why you would bring up those moral questions if you don't actually feel like engaging with them meaningfully. Like, as one of those SJWs, I'm not impressed with people just like asserting things and then trying to get wokeness brownie points, because I'm like, this is bad for the story. It doesn't make sense for the character, and like, why are you doing this? It's clear you had no reason for doing this beyond trying to get like little brownie points.
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually delve into this little thing. We had the situation with Kelly Marie Tran deleting her Instagram, and okay, first, and we said this yesterday. It's not cool to threaten people. It's not cool to be abusive. I mean, you could say, "Boo, you're terrible. Boo, you couldn't direct your way out of a paper bag. Boo, you shouldn't be. You should be making dog food commercials. Okay, you know what? That's all fun, well and good. I'm a sports fan. Food. Yeah, yeah, that's all well and good. I'm a sports fan. You can heckle. It's fine to heckle. Just don't make it personal. But the thing is about how the whole series now is just trying to become woke. And first of all, you have to focus on making it good, and then you can make it woke.
Yeah.
You're forgetting that first part.
Well, this is going to sound like really funny as well. It's kind of the same thing 13 Reasons Why does, where they're just like, yes, we are going to make a woke teen drama that will be hip with those youths. So let's just throw in this random advocacy and then use it into this just really blunt, horrible way that doesn't add anything to the story and actively makes people cringe. That's a smart thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we should try and answer some of these questions quick here too. Yeah.
Yeah. Go Rainbow, go woke, go broke. I'm like, that's too. I keep saying it. It's like Ryan Johnson is like banging us over the head with something. Why don't you understand the brilliance of my work? I'm a genius. Don't you know that? It's like so.
Okay, I'm going to try and go back as far as I can, guys, so hopefully we can get as many of these questions in here as we can. Larry Bernard asks, and thank you for the donation, Larry, by the way, what do you think that it would take to get Koto-esque movie, Knights of the Old Republic? It's one of their best Star Wars stories. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear something soon. That would actually be a really cool idea for
about
a prequel,
that. But I am interested to see how horribly they'll screw it up.
Here's what it'll take: fire Ryan Johnson.
So I don't doubt that'll be something we hear something about in the next year or two, if they're going to definitely try to.
I mean, they're going to dig up everything they can find to try and make a new thing. I imagine they have just a ridiculously expansive universe.
Yeah, but not just that, but win the fans back, I think, is what I see more so, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they're just going to fail at that. I have a feeling their way of approaching these movies is unsalvageable.
Rainbolt asks if we could recap real quick the KK stepping down rumors. Basically, we've heard rumors ourselves, and there's being reported rumors in other places that in September, Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping down from Lucasfilm. Now, of course, these are all rumors, so take them with a grain of salt. Richard Smack... where did it go? Darn it.
Actually, here's one from Monkey Zor. Has there ever been any horror movie that Rob has liked? Perhaps Alien 1979. Actually, you know what? An American Werewolf in London. That's the one horror movie
true. You did
really
bring that up once, yeah. Well, here's a question from Matt B. He asks, what do we think about 2 Joker movies? It seems like a bad idea. We actually did a video about that yesterday, and yes, we do think that's a bad idea.
Wait. Are they going to put Jared Leto in these Joker movies?
One of them, yes.
And Joaquin Phoenix supposedly in the other.
Yeah. Which,
no! Oh no!
Okay.
That is the last person I ever would have pictured for the Joker.
C. Canteni.
Like ever.
C. Canteni 28 asks, will the Disney live-action films be canceled? Yes or no?
We can only hope.
No, there's no way after Beauty and the Beast made over $1 billion.
I mean, all of them have made a fuck ton of money.
Yeah,
They're just terrible
that's
movies.
just-
but like,
Well-
Disney has such a built-in fan base that they'll always get enough people to see them that they'll totally make back their investment and more.
Well,
So there's no reason why they'd stop.
It's another way too to sell another Blu-ray. It's a double dip too.
Oh yeah, and then to
And
re-release
then, of course,
the other
they'll
one.
also they'll bring all of the classics out of the vault and make money off that, and then the toy sales are going to spike again. Like, no, it's way too much of a money maker. They've, like, figured out their new formula, and they are going to just, like, go and beat that horse until it is just, like, a liquefied pulp. Like, that is going to be the deadest fucking horse.
I can hear the commercials now. Before you watch the new live-action Mulan, go see the original on Blu-ray. You know,
I'm like so upset about the live action Mulan. Like, first of all, really, you're making Mulan without Be a Man in it? Fucking really? Are you kidding me? Really? Like,
Girl
no.
power.
That's the whole point. Like, that's the best song in the movie.
But
What are you
yet they
doing?
had every single song from Beauty and the Beast.
Exactly. And
remake,
like, I love Emma
needlessly?
Watson, but she can't sing at all. Like, I love her, but like, no.
Okay. Let's go
Stone
on to
Cold-
question.
Stone Cold 10X. How about Disney Robin Hood live action? Robin Hood.
Oh, no.
I saw a preview for the new Robin
Would
Hood
they
movie.
keep the foxes?
I'm not sure- I'm not sure
I
if
do
you'd-
know
how
they
you
were
do
making a
that.
new one. I forgot about that. Is that Disney? I saw like a poster, but I haven't
No,
seen
the one
any
with
previews.
Jamie Foxx, I don't think so.
I have
it
heard
did
nothing
look-
at all
it did
about
look-
that.
It did look pretty good, but then again, it's how many times have we seen Robin Hood? We know the
100
story.
million times.
Yeah.
Final,
I mean,
And
once
I'm-
you've seen Men in Tights, you've seen the best Robin Hood. So like, why?
and
not?
actually, the Disney
else?
Robin Hood is one of my favorite Disney films.
I love
I
that
don't see
movie.
how you'd
Oh,
make
I
it
had like
live
a very
action.
confusing childhood crush on the fox. I did.
Robin Hood
that
never
is-
been a
Yeah.
walking through the
He was
forest.
just so rakish.
Walt Disney's Robin Hood is the first movie I ever went to see as a child.
That's
That's
aging
really
you.
wholesome.
Yes.
Okay, Final Flame Productions asks, will
Oodalali,
they drop new
oodalali,
characters
oodalali.
like Rey and Kylo in the future? After Episode 9, I highly doubt we'll see them again.
Yeah.
Unless they show up in some anthology movie for some reason because it's time sensitive. What do you
Man,
guys
I
think?
want Rey and Kylo to just be better written. They, I feel like their characters had some interesting ideas, and then they just like screwed the pooch.
Yeah. Geekzilla, do you think they would make a soft reboot of Star Wars series and retcon the sequel trilogy and the Star Wars story in favor of different continuation? No, because otherwise they would have done that to the prequels.
Give it enough decades, and once they run
Maybe.
out
Yeah,
of
I'm not saying they
extended universe
won't,
stuff,
but
they
yeah.
might. They'll like do it like Spider-Man, where every few years you get another reboot just after you got a previous reboot. Oh,
I highly
God.
doubt while guys Rob and I's age are around that Star Wars will ever get remade, but it will happen eventually.
We'll see.
Is Star
Disney
Wars
only has so many ideas.
Is Star Wars dead? Richard Smack, here's the one from before I was looking for. Is Star Wars dead since it has gone mainstream? Well, it went mainstream way back after the original film. if you
It's
think
always
about
been
it.
mainstream.
And I've said this to, I may have even said this on the podcast at one point, but I know I've said it to Rob in private. Basically, every movie since Return of the Jedi has been made to sell plastic. That's what George Lucas got into the business for. He knew exactly what he was doing, and I've said that before too. It's like if he'd have known that you guys would have bought the same toys again over and over, he wouldn't have made the prequels the way he did. That's why we have a million new characters in the prequels, so that he can make all kinds of play sets, even though they don't even have lines. You know,
I think I may have gone too far.
I think I may have gone just a little too far with this one. But Jar Jar's the key to this. If we can get him to work, he's the key, and plus he'll sell a fuckload of merchandise. Plastic.
Yeah.
It's what we're here for. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question. Okay, Lucasfilm from Nick W asks, Lucasfilm worth more than when George sold it? Well, that's kind of debatable because see, after George did the prequels, it wasn't like Hollywood was like clamoring for another Star Wars movie. The Clone Wars cartoon came out and it did fairly well, but I don't ever remember, a bunch of people saying, well, it's about time we do another Star Wars movie. You know what I mean?
I don't know. As a property, it's probably worth more now.
Yeah, just from inflation,
just financially, yeah.
Yeah, and just
Well,
showing that
even
people-
like controlled for inflation, it's probably worth more now, just because they have, all of the properties and all of the assets and like income that goes with all of them, and then anything else that they make in the future. And then on top of that, they have like Disney's credibility in terms of people being more likely to like invest in like front money. So I don't know. I feel like they're probably worth more. You could probably like look up a comparison between like the debt to equity ratios like now and previously though and see.
All right, we got any more questions?
Christian Stileski, why is Kelly pushing everywhere? Greatest everything ever. Like, who's Kelly pushing?
I'm not
Who
sure.
is she pushing and why? What did they do?
I don't
Did they
know.
deserve it? Were they injured by the pushing?
They were pushed. I don't know.
Captain April says I think she's referring to my George Lucas sounding more like a foul-mouthed Kermit the Frog. Have you ever listened to George Lucas talk? He is Kermit the Frog.
Yes, he is. I'm a fan of Captain April's channel. How you doing there, Captain April?
He does. He sounds like Kermit the Frog. He does. You sit there and listen to him. Anyway.
Does the ST fanboy, does anyone think that this SJW fiasco has gone further than the Ghostbusters 2016 fiasco?
It's in the same realm.
It can always go further.
And it's funny they bring that up because that's something I've been bringing up all day with the Rose Tico thing, and now this happening here. It's like, you know, Disney's been trying to gaslight a bunch of stuff with, oh, the movie didn't do well because it was a lot of competition. And even Matt said that last night. And I said, you know, I don't buy that. I think everybody who's going to go see Avengers and Deadpool did. And everybody who wasn't going to go see Solo didn't. And that's why it tanked. Because if that was the case, then it would have had a much bigger second weekend. Because a lot of schools are out now. It wasn't a holiday weekend where people are traveling and stuff. If they were going to go see Solo, they were going to go see it this last weekend, and nobody went. So it just goes to show that this movement is real. No matter what you want to say. Even John Campea had to dig his head out of a hole and admit it. That this is real. So that's why this rumor is very probable at this point, because Disney is not going to fuck around. We know, and I'd said this in private to you, Rob, and I'll say this live now. We know that Disney's not going to fuck around because they dumped Roseanne like a bad habit right now.
Yeah.
And if they were going to dump her on having the #1 show in America and the moneymaker that show is, especially with a second season coming, that tells me that they're not so much worried about the money as they are how people see them as a business. And if they see us seeing, they may be sticking up for this out in public, but you can't tell me behind the scenes shit isn't hitting the fan right now. I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy is balled up somewhere with some bonbons, bawling her ass off, thinking she failed all feminists everywhere right now, when that shouldn't even have been the whole point to begin with. You should have left that for your little movies you made somewhere else about, lesbian cowboys eating pudding.
I don't know. I don't really feel like Star Wars is bad because feminism ruined Star Wars.
No, it's not just that, but it's her whole political
and aggressive
views
cash grab with sloppy writing, way too much glossy special effects, not enough reliance on
and all the other stuff we brought up. Yeah, she can't get a director to work on a film for more than a few months. And
the issue with the movie isn't that there are more women and not white people in it. And like for a lot of people who are mad about it, they're going to be mad no matter how many women and non-white people you put in it. I've seen complaints that someone like actually lifted from people writing in letter campaigns and things and like angry messages about the old Star Wars movies being anti-white and anti-man. So like any diversity is too much diversity for a lot of people at this point. And like, I don't think diversity is the problem with Star Wars. And it's kind of weird to think that it is. Like, Finn being black isn't why the movie's bad or why the character's choices at the end of The Last Jedi didn't make any sense. It would have been just as bad if they did another white guy. And like, Rose Tico's character would have been just as bad if they gender switched it and made it a white dude who was like in love with a girl in the Resistance and doing all the same things. So I think it's mostly just really shitty writing and people who want giant piles of money. Because like if you look at the Hobbit movies, no one can say that the Hobbit movies were influenced by some kind of feminist thing, right? There's one token girl in the movie and they put her into a love triangle and they make her the love interest when like the actress actually like only agreed to do the movie on the condition that she would not be in a love triangle, right? Those movies were still absolutely fucking awful. They were absolutely terrible. They were also based on incredibly historically successful properties with, I would say, probably a big audience overlap, right? And they were still bad, not because of feminism, but because now when we make movies, we make them for all of the wrong reasons, and we don't know what made them good in the first place, and studios are so focused on the bottom line, they don't give a fuck about the end product, and they never will. And I think it's just like a kind of shitty scapegoat, because it does push the idea that this is somehow feminism's fault, when it's affecting basically all movie properties now, even ones that don't bother to try to be diverse at all. And like, I'm not saying that like a film is automatically better because it has a certain quantity of women or people of color in it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's also not worse because of those things either.
No, basically, you're right. You're totally right. And that's the problem, is now Disney is learning that there is no way now that they can just slap Star Wars on something and everybody will go see it. That's what the lesson is here, and hopefully that's what they're learning. And that's kind of what I was getting to too, is it's not just those politics, but everything involved. She hasn't got along with any of the directors, it seems like. She's letting everybody do their own fan films, in this case of Rian Johnson. And the rumor is she forced JJ to make Force Awakens more and more the way it is than it was originally too, because there was a leaked script that was a lot better than the movie we got. It wasn't much different, but there was moments and stuff in it that was like not there.
I still don't have much confidence in J.J. Abrams. I was not happy with the new Star Trek movies.
I was kind of. Let me tell you, I was kind of. Not that I was on the fence, but I had my doubt. I was having doubts about Kathleen Kennedy, and with the whole Rian Johnson thing. And I was never one of those. Oh yeah, burn her at the stake. But I wanted to.
I think it's totally fine to critique her. Like, I'm not saying she's above criticism just because she's a woman or a feminist.
But she has
not made good Star Wars movies lately.
No, here's what sealed it for me. And I don't know how keen you are on me talking about spoilers for Solo. I don't know if you have any plans.
Oh, I don't give. I'm not invested at all in that movie. Go ahead.
And I said this last. I think I said this last night.
Let's warn everybody out there that there's going to be spoilers.
And there's going to be a spoiler here for everybody who has seen.
We haven't said a few already, but yeah.
And Tom, we got a super chat actually a little ways back. You might want to look at that. But anyway, here's one of the things. The confrontation between Enfys Nest and Han Solo and Tobias Beckett and Lady Khaleesi on the beach planet. By the way, that looks like the worst couples resort ever. Beach planet there. No way I'm booking vacation there. But anyway, that's beside.
Thank you, Ender Zero.
But so anyway, so they have there's these hardened pirates and they have a showdown and
onion rings this week.
Woohoo! I'm getting the large fries, but I might have enough left over for guitar strings. But anyway, there's this confrontation. Enfys Nest steps forward, takes off the helmet. This is the first time we see the character's face because it's behind the helmet, and there's a voice changer. And you're saying to yourself, "Hey, this Enfys Nest section might be a pretty cool character." Enfys Nest takes off the helmet, and what do you think you see underneath the helmet? It's a 16-year-old girl. And I just said, "Fuck you!" I was just
the
like,
stupid thing about that too is like you thought this badass fighter was gonna be a boy, but she's a girl.
It's the dread
reveal
pirate
is also
Julia Roberts.
fucking sexist because you're just oh my god, that's so funny. Because you're just like, women fight all the time in Star Wars. Why are you acting like this would be a big shocking surprise?
Yeah, I call it the Dread Pirate Roberta now. I mean, jeez.
Oh my god.
Dread Pirate
really
Julia
funny.
Roberts sounds better though.
Yeah, no, like.
But I was just like, and this is apparently a 16-year-old girl with mommy issues. Thank you, Michael Keller.
Oh my, how woke.
Yeah, how woke. But
wouldn't it be more so daddy issues though?
But the point I'm trying to make is that this was something that I read that Kathleen Kennedy insisted on. And now if she's insisting on these kind of changes,
that's a good idea, Snake 56. Yeah, Enfys Nest should have been Han's mother instead of a cheap gimmick. That would have actually made the character mean more. Yeah,
but I was saying, like, as I was saying, if this is a change that she insisted on, if she demanded this change, then she has to go, because it just shows you how utterly tone deaf she is when it comes to storytelling. She has no idea no idea about character, no ideas about story, about plot, about a development or anything. It just, she wants what she wants, and she will do it at the expense of the quality of the overall product. and I open the floor to you.
There was a message retracted. What was it?
I don't know. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. So yeah, let's see if we got.
Don't even say Eva's Nest in the same sentence as Dread Pirate Roberts. Oh no.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. And Rob did get a bit offended with that the first time I made that comparison.
Yeah, my buddy Jake my buddy Jake called her Dollar Store Boba Fett.
I'm sorry, that's really funny. Oh.
If Kennedy, okay, Nick W. If Kennedy is gone, who takes the top spot at Lucasfilm? Oh, well, I think what's going to happen is more so. I mean, I'm sure they'll find somebody like a Kevin Feige to take over. I don't know who he or she will be at this time, obviously, but it'll be somebody who probably has more conviction with the Star Wars universe. And I have a feeling we're going to start seeing a mixture of a lot of veterans from the Star Wars galaxy and newcomers. And they'll probably try and work together in more uniformed ways and probably try to copy Marvel a bit more, I bet. Because there's a reason that works. And that's because they run the Marvel films like a TV show. You know, Kevin Feige is the showrunner more so than a producer. You know, he oversees everything. He makes sure everything works together. He makes sure one director isn't screwing something up for another director. And that sounds like a kind of problem we had here with Kathleen Kennedy, with especially the treatment getting thrown out and him and Rian Johnson deciding to do what he wants to do with Last Jedi. And I know how Rob feels about that. But yeah, okay. And you guys... Go ahead.
Somebody wanted to know about the Boba Fett movie. I think the Boba Fett movie is still on. I think they're gonna.
I bet they're gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
I hope they
I'm
don't.
not optimistic about any of them. Even when it sounds like it could be a really cool idea that would make a good movie, I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna go into this with low expectations and maybe I'll be surprised, but I'm not going into any of these movies with high expectations anymore.
Right. Well, you know, and that's just it. It's just. How do I put this anymore? I'm just at a loss for words when it comes to the Star Wars universe as a whole anymore. So, because I've lost interest in it, and I'm totally just. And Boba Fett was never really a character I gave a shit about to begin with. So I know once I heard this news, this was completely to pander to the fans because I know how popular he is among the masses, and he was always one of George Lucas's favorite characters, so that's how I know it was one of the films he had wanted to do at first. And I always said they should have just did a Boba Fett movie and had Han Solo as a cameo instead, because I would have rather
that would have been fun.
Yeah, I'd rather just see that.
That'd been just the right amount of Han Solo backstory.
Yeah.
Any more good questions we got here?
Actually, there was one back here actually. Have you guys heard the Article 9 about Boba Fett by James Whitbrook? Yes, I have, and it was stupid as fuck. Basically talking about Boba Fett just being kind of like the Sarlacc spitting out. Basically said the Sarlacc spits out the armor, and somebody takes up the new Boba Fett, the mantle of Boba Fett.
It's a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, probably be a 16-year-old girl. Because why the fuck not? I'm looking forward to Boba Fett being a paraplegic, lactose intolerant Asian midget. So I mean, that's because if you're going to be pointless, might as well just take it to the max. Somebody just. Thanks. Okay.
Okay. Now my chat just updated finally. Okay.
Oh, good. It's like Disney's stuck on 20 years ago. Yeah. Any more questions? Come on, keep some questions coming here.
Yeah.
One of the things I was saying last night was actually Disney does not do the big fan events for Star Wars anymore.
No, not like they
that's
used to.
Yeah, they really don't.
Well, Matt was saying that too because he was at the event with JJ where they took the whole crowd to hear the symphony play the soundtrack live. So he thought that was really neat. He was talking about how they just don't do that kind of stuff anymore for the fans, and I think a lot of it is because they're afraid. It's just like how you can't.
They don't want to be booed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't really plan these things anymore and keep, individuals out. How are you going to know? And when it's obvious now that the majority has taken over that are not happy, it's kind of hard to deal with. And I know there's a lot of people out there who have enjoyed these films, and I don't want to take that away from them either, but at the same time, you have to look at this stuff, and Andre said it himself, he liked Solo, but he can't deny the fact that it's a flop. You know what I mean? It's right in your face, and this is not good for the Star Wars franchise as a whole.
I mean, I had fun at different moments of all of the new Star Wars movies, but I know that they're objectively not very good movies, and they have just huge flaws. So, you can totally enjoy them, but, just enjoy them for what they are, and not what you wish they were.
I think
and you made a good point, Ren. Sorry, Rob. But you made a good point, Ren, about them rushing these, and that's a big part of it, I think. Is they're trying so hard to get these out so fast, so many, so soon, trying to just saturate us with Star Wars that they aren't taking the time to actually do a good job, regardless of how much money they sink into these things.
Yeah, and it's also, I've noticed one of the things it seems like a minor thing, but it's making a huge impact, and that's just big studios have basically completely moved away from practical effects in most movies. And I think it makes a huge difference in how real and grounded the world looks. And I think that actually makes a huge difference in the actors' performances, because it's so much harder to act to a green screen than it is when you have an actual prop, or if you have an actual visual representation of what you're supposed to be reacting to in front of you. And I think this reliance on CGI is really hurting all the films. I mean, actually, I think it's hurting all sci-fi and action films, because it makes it so easy to build your whole movie around big, dramatic, showy set pieces that aren't grounded at all in anything real. And so they look cool, but there's also just this, it cuts into your suspension of disbelief, and I think that is inescapable for the actors, and it makes just everything, it kind of just adds this falsity to everything that undermines the entire product. And then you have all of the other stuff, like the bad writing and all of this other crap that's happening as well. But I think that the reliance on CGI is just really negatively impacting movies, because they can do anything, and so they're not limited by anything. And I think it makes it so that they have to be way less creative in how they do a lot of things too.
Yeah. H. Churt. WBDC are no longer listening to critics / bloggers, and KK could be fired. Do you think things are moving in the right direction for fans? Maybe. I don't know.
Some of y'all are so optimistic here on the internet. I'm impressed that you still have this much optimism.
Okay, we got one.
I know, I'm impressed.
Trogdor. Well, I gotta say something. You do have a point about the practical effects, but I'm going to quote George Lucas here and say this. Practical effects are just a tool. It means to tell a story. If you don't have a decent story, then special effects are meaningless.
Oh, I totally agree.
And that's exactly what he said, but he forgot that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think it's more that it just impacts the ability of the actors to also convincingly react to things, and it takes away an entire extra layer of emotional depth.
Oh, yeah.
While also giving them just such an ability to not worry about story, because they think they can just rest on their laurels with their big action set pieces.
Well, in a lot of these movies,
I feel like a lot of times movies are
movies,
yeah, they're basically made around what the action moments they think an audience wants to see. I feel like they plan out the action moments and then they try to write the story around that. That's what it feels like.
It's like the beat sheet, like the Hollywood beat sheet. For every so many minutes of action, minutes of to have an action beat. There's that story that John Peters, when he was talking to Kevin Smith about Superman. Yeah, Superman lives. Yeah, he goes, "Oh, you need an action beat here. What if he fights a polar bear? Why? Why polar bear?
Because a polar bear is the fiercest animal.
Killers in the animal kingdom. Yeah.
And then in the third act, he's got to fight a giant spider. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because spiders are the most vicious killers in the arachnid kingdom. Okay, anyway, Trogdor149 asks, in terms of a Boba Fett movie, what if they did No Country for Old Men style crime thriller? I feel like a movie would be awesome. James Mangold could totally do it. Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, Disney needs to understand that the reason Marvel keeps it fresh is every single movie is a different genre within itself. Ant-Man's a comedy heist film. Guardians of the Galaxy is a comedy, straight up, you know, or sci-fi comedy, however you want to look at it. And then you got like Captain America, which is more of a political thriller, and Iron Man, which is, you know, an action kind of film. You know, they're all kind of different in their own ways, even though they're all set in the same universe. And that's what you can do. You can keep, you know, I said it last night. They should have just released Lord and Miller's Solo and said to hell with it. You know, it may have been a better movie. It may have been funnier, so who cares? At least it would have been more entertaining. But at least that way, even if it sucked, they would have been all they would have had was a shitty
comic
movie.
Relief.
Right.
It would have been really funny. It would have been really funny if you made it a comedy.
See, and to me, a lot of the humor that's in the movie now was just cringy. But like I said last night, is like, you know, you could have released that movie, and then if it was shitty, oh well, you had a shitty movie. Now not only do you have a shitty movie, but you're out all that money for reshooting it again, because they reshot it twice, you know, and spent almost at least $300 million probably on this movie. So it's just ridiculous, and it'll be the lowest grossing Star Wars live action film ever. So yeah,
and like I said, you got nothing to show for it. Really, I mean,
really. No. Okay, let's try and find some more questions here real quick before we end it, because we're running on an hour.
Kennedy reminds me every bit of out of touch executive. She's sure she gets the blame, but it's really on Jar Jar Abrams and Ryan. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. But you know, Coach always gets fired first. So,
well, it's just I mean, like I said before, not even just even the political politics aside and all that kind of stuff, whether you've liked the movies or not, it's more than evident that we're getting diminishing returns here. And
that's the thing.
And no matter what excuse you want to give for Solo failing at the box office, you can't deny the simple fact that people didn't go, regardless.
It's just not very good.
No.
From what I've heard, it's just not very good.
No, you have very mixed word of mouth. Yeah, it's...
And word of mouth spreads. That's why I haven't prioritized going to see it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be really mediocre. I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm not going to rush.
I have a review actually. It should be coming in a couple days, and
I lost you, Rob.
Theater. It was projected on the screen, so it's it was better than The Last Jedi, but that's a very low bar. So
yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta figure the Last Jedi soured a lot of people.
The war on the war for the Crow was won thus far. So far, they're not making the Crow remake as of right now either. So that's kind of good news. But yeah, Rainbolt, Midnight's Edge. It may not even matter who replaces KK if she leaves. Look at the state of merchandise in the stores. Well, the reason the merchandise in the stores is the way it is because they made a movie that. And Rob brought this up. What is there in The Last Jedi to play? Really?
Yeah, what do kids like to do with toys? They like to reenact all their scenes and make up new ones.
Right.
What is there?
There's that one cheesy chopping all the red guys in half scene.
That's about it.
Woo!
Get your new Get Off My Lawn, Luke! Get off my lawn!
You could buy a model of the Millennium Falcon and then put a bunch of porgs in it and shake them back and forth.
Get new just in time for Christmas, the low-speed chase Star Destroyer.
You can chase your friends for hours.
Like
we're low on fuel.
I said, yeah. Who wrote that? Who wrote that scene? O.J. Simpson. Really?
And as I said before, people are like, "Oh, Disney's hurt by the toy sales." Disney didn't get hurt by the toy sales. The stores did. That's why you saw it on clearance, is because they're stuck with that merchandise, because they paid for that merchandise, and now they're selling it at pennies compared to what they spent on it. They might even take a loss on some of it then. So then now what they're not going to do is buy more Solo material, which is what you have not seen a lot of in the stores. I have not seen very much Solo merchandise at all compared to what I saw of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, well, I bet no one's going to buy it, so that's not surprising.
I haven't been to Walmart in a couple weeks, so I haven't noticed. But next time I'm in there, I'll take a look. Apparently, Marvel's toy sales are slumping too, though. Well, most of the characters are dead now, though. So, actually, there is a very cool Marvel Legends Black Bolt figure that I want. So I have the Sentry, which is actually pretty cool. ST Fanboy, I laughed at the O.J. Simpson joke. Thank you. That's thank you. Yeah, I got a lot more where I came from.
No, he's relevant again, isn't he?
Tyan Ranger. I liked your theory that KK is inserting herself into the characters. Made the whole Akbar scene make so much more sense if he's an allegory for Lucas and KK is Holdo. That's what it seems like. That's really what it seems like. I mean, Carrie Fisher's sort of the stand-in for Kathleen Kennedy as the matriarchal figure overseeing everything, and
and just to kind of bring it. Go ahead.
Daisy Ridley is the young version of Kathleen Kennedy coming up through the film industry. It may not be deliberate, but it's there on a subconscious level.
Right, and I just got to say this to defend myself a little bit earlier to Ren, so I wasn't coming off as a sexist pig. Is that the reason that the gender politics are a problem is because of stupid.
What's wrong with being sexy?
What's wrong with being sexy? No, sexist. Sexist.
Oh.
See, now Spinal Tap. Anyway, we get going. No, what I was going to say though is that it's characters like Holdo that are the problem, and this really harkens right back to like what we said about Star Trek
Holdo
Discovery.
Would have been just as bad if she were a man.
Right?
If you just removed
no doubt.
Gender, she would have been just as bad a character. So it's not feminism; it's just a badly written character.
What I'm getting to though is what we even brought up though, and it's true, is that the problem that most of the fans are having is the grandstanding, the moral grandstanding is, oh, look at these strong female characters. So what the old fans hear is like, well, fuck Leia. She was never a strong character. Who the fuck was Padme? Who cares? She wasn't a strong character. We got strong characters now.
Who the fuck was Padme? Because Padme was
regardless,
terrible.
But
she literally dies of a broken heart.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. That was Lucas. That was Lucas taking a cheap way out.
Awful.
I had to give
Leia's was a dope female character, but I think but again, like, people shit on Leia for being feminist Star Wars back when it first came out. Like, they were like, this movie's anti-man. Look at Leia and the way she insults Han Solo, blur, blur, blur. And it's like, okay, well, she eventually falls in love with him, so, like, you're wrong. And also, like, any amount of women, they're going to complain about them being women instead of just being bad characters. That's like where my issue is. They're not bad because they're women. They're bad because they're bad
that's a very
characters.
Small portion of this group, and that goes with the whole thing and that's who Kelly is, guys. When they were asking about Kelly, is the girl who played Tico, Rose Tico.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that goes right back to that. It's not about necessarily those. Disney's making it about those few 5 or 6 people who are saying these racist or sexist comments, and disregarding the other thousands, hundreds of thousands of legitimate gripes.
Anyone who critiques the movie as like
just like Ghostbusters,
anti-feminist or like sexist. That's different. Like no. No. Like, the movies are just objectively full of problems.
Bad, yeah.
They're
like
just bad.
But like I said, the issue is that they're hiding behind feminism to justify these characters. Right. That's what we're trying to say. And one point I keep bringing up about Holdo is that she's a piss poor leader. And if we're to believe that the rebellion is a military command structure, then she has a responsibility to tell all her senior officers the plan, even though Poe was demoted.
But Poe was demoted for like not following orders and acting like a jackass, and then he immediately compromised the plan once he found it out. Like, I'm just saying, I wouldn't have given him my information either. I'd been like, bro,
Ryan's
you
fault,
go
because
sit in
he
the corner.
rewrote every character against what they were in the first film.
Like,
Poe wasn't stupid in the first film.
Like, I would say, like, Holdo, I personally didn't think Holdo was that bad. I really didn't.
It's not so much that she was bad, it's just that the whole plot line was fucking stupid.
They basically manufactured conflict for no reason.
Yeah, it was contrived.
Yeah, but I think they would have done that no matter what gender she is. And on top of that, they also just, like, made Poe seem shitty when he's like, Holdo's a girl? Oh my god. Like, he's shocked that the leader's a woman, and I'm like, this doesn't make Poe look very good.
And that was stupid, considering his old boss was a leader. It was a woman too.
I know.
That's the fucking. That's what I'm saying.
Have like done things in Star Wars for like all of Star Wars. So like, what's with these new movies making everyone be like shocked that women are doing things when this is supposed to be later on in the story? I'm like, this is the universe you grew up in.
That's the problem.
Where women sometimes do things. Like, why are you acting shocked?
That's the legitimate gripe people are having. Like I said, it's this moral grandstanding
so
on
badly written.
It's like, we've got these strong female characters, and if you don't like it, you're just a misogynist.
So like, they write fucking Poe like that in that weird sexist way, and then they don't really have him like address that at all. and they just like have him just move on.
It was totally
and
against
be,
his
like,
character.
let me
good at the
tell
end
you.
of the movie.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
his character is so badly written and so much worse in the second movie. I thought he was kind of cute in the first movie. I was like, oh, he's kind of fun. And in the second movie, I'm like, oh, this was too much Poe. This is clearly a character for small doses with this kind of writing. Motherfuck. I actively hate Poe Dameron.
Graham, in the military, the commanding officer has no responsibility to tell anyone the plan. They will follow orders anyway. But at the same time, you have to maintain the chain of command.
Well, not only that, we made this
he was
point.
demoted in the chain of command, though. That's the point. So, like,
we
if
made
he's no
this
longer
point
like high enough up that she wants to tell him, like, I would understand not telling the guy that just fucked everything up.
I keep saying that this movie could, like I said, this movie could have benefited from a technical military advisor.
But the problem was, and Rob and I brought this up in either a podcast or the round table about it, and that is this. You have what is supposed to be what is left of the rebellion in this ship, right? Sure, he got demoted and he's got in trouble, but he's also your only good pilot you got, really, because how many pilots do you have left? You lost most of them in the beginning of the movie. Granted, it was his fault, but he's still one of the only higher level people you have left. So if he's going to act out the way he did, it probably would have been better just to tell him a plan, whether or not it was the real plan or not, just to shut him up to pacify him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess they
or even they created the conflict for no reason.
Yeah, write that a little better. Like the conflict was totally like manufactured, because I also feel like he wouldn't just assume she doesn't have a plan. Like, he has no good reason to assume she just doesn't have a plan. Like,
yeah. Well, like I said, full disclosure, I was never in the military. People who were in the military tell me that one of the things you do as a leader is you have to build trust in your subordinates so that they will follow your orders, so that they will trust you, that they will enough to follow orders, and that's where it comes in. So, what's our plan? What's the plan? I said, listen, I can't tell you all the details, but you got to trust me. We do have a plan, and we're gonna be enacting it soon. So just sit tight. That's another thing. And when you dress down someone in front of everybody, say, hey, listen, you know what? My men here, they trust me enough to follow orders. By dressing me down in front of them, you're compromising my authority to command them effectively. Okay? Says, now you have a problem with me, we take it into private and we address it there, but not in front of my men. That's another thing.
Oh yeah, if they had added a scene like that would have been really cool. If they had bothered to do anything at all reasonable with these characters, that would have been fine. I just don't think Holdo was particularly bad. I think they were all pretty much equally badly
it was
written.
The movie's fault, because I love what's her face as an actress.
Fucking Laura Dern is
Laura Dern is awesome.
Yeah.
I love Laura Dern.
I had no issue with her being casted either,
I was bummed out. I was like, they dragged Laura Dern into this.
Okay, and they had two problems here with her.
ST fanboy, why didn't Holdo wear a uniform on duty?
Oh my god, right? What was that outfit they chose for her?
She's going to the command ball.
Yes, I must wear my flowiest dress to command the ship. Could you maybe put her in something that a person who does combat would maybe ever wear?
Leia wore some weird shit too, so
she did. And that was like really sexist justification for her wearing that shit that like she actively complained about. And so this movie's response is, yes, flowier dresses for the women's.
Davis at STF fanboy. The ragtag terrorist uniforms are optional.
But no, here's the thing.
Good thing it's not clothing.
With Holdo as a character where they fucked up either. A, they should have made her a double agent working for the First Order, and that would have made the conflict between her and Poe actually mean something at the end. Or B, when Carrie Fisher sadly died, they should have been like, you know what, we need to fix this, and flip-flop the two characters at the end. And you can't tell me they can't do it with computers nowadays, and let Leia go out with a blaze of glory right there, and had Holdo carry on as the leader into the next film and take over her part, basically. But they screwed themselves into a corner now because they lost Luke, too. So it's like, I feel bad for JJ in a way, but I don't.
And correct me. Oh, sorry, Ren, but correct me if I'm wrong. The whole Carrie Poppins scene with the Leia doing the flight.
Well, she should have died
there.
I'm
so angry about that. It would have been such a good death scene. It would have been perfect if they just killed her there.
But that was another. But I read that was another thing that Kathleen Kennedy insisted on. She insisted on that scene, and if again we have more evidence that she doesn't know anything about storytelling.
Yeah, like if you wanted to demonstrate that Leia has force powers as some kind of cool addition to the plot, I would honestly be fine with that based on her parentage and all that, and the fact that she didn't previously had training. If you wanted to do a subtle thing, that could have been cool. But the particular choice they made, why? Like, why? And it actively detracts from the story. And also, like, you know you're going to have to kill her off. The actress is dead. Like, cut her out of the rest of the scenes. You don't really need her for the rest of the story
really
anyway.
Do anything for the story.
Give her a beautiful death scene where she's drowned in moonlight.
And not killed by her son.
Not strangled by her own bra.
Well,
drowned
no,
in
not
moonlight,
killed by
not
her son
murdered by her
because
own son.
he changed his mind and the other two shot.
Yeah.
And that would have been more poignant. But, you know, they didn't have Harrison Ford on the set to go, that's not how the Force works.
Yeah, it was just I'm pissed off about that, especially with that really great Carrie Fisher quote about being drowned in moonlight, strangled by her own bra. I thought that it was going to be this awesome tribute to her as a person and as an actress.
Oh, I know damn well she'd have been like, I'm dead, kill me off. You know, yeah, she would have too.
Instead, they do this dumb bullshit and then just like keep her in like a coma for half of the rest of the movie, and then just like, you know, stitch her into scenes here and there, and then they're like, well, guess we're gonna just figure out a way to kill her off in the next movie, probably off screen. Oops. Oh well.
Yeah, like, it'll be something stupid.
What are they gonna do with her now?
She lost the will to live after Luke died.
Oh my god, yeah, she'll like die because she like cried.
That's why I said don't get me started
herself.
on that lost the will thing, because
God, that was
I feel
so
like
fucking
Lucas.
annoying.
To go back to that real quick, my whole thing on that is I feel like Lucas wimped out at the end. It was supposed to be that Anakin did kill her.
That would have been a way better story.
I think
and also,
that was supposed to be what it was supposed to be, and he wimped out.
I mean, I honestly kind of think that Lucas is a sexist bastard, TBH, just based on the way that the behind-the-scenes stuff I've read about the way he treated Carrie, the way he treated his wife, who, by the way, if you've ever, like, done any, like, reading about, like, the original cut of Star Wars versus her edit, holy fuck does he owe her big.
Well, she won the Oscar, and that always rubbed him the wrong way. I have a whole nother documentary I never finished of an old series I used to do before I got brought on to Midnight's Edge, with this robotic voice called Deep Goat, where he goes into all this stuff. And the first one was George Lucas is an asshole, and that's because he won't release the unspecial editions of the original versions. The second part was all about him and his wife. I had more than enough material, and that second part is like over 30 minutes long, and I never finished it though. But yeah, it gets into all the stuff about how she basically fixed Star Wars for him, won the Oscar, how he was all jealous of that, claimed he was building Lucasfilm for her while neglecting her the whole time. And then when he said he was going to step back from Return of the Jedi, he ended up getting more involved with Return of the Jedi and all this other stuff. It was just a big old mess. And basically the reason why he will not release the non-special editions is because she was editor on them, and if they release them, she will get money for them.
Honey, don't you understand? This was all for you. This was all for you. I did this all for you.
Oh, yeah. I kind of like.
Which is sad because her career ended when they got divorced, because she was one of the greatest editors, especially for female editors at the time. Like if it wasn't for her, like, there's a lot of movies that wouldn't be that great. Like, she worked on all kinds of stuff you wouldn't imagine. Like, I've heard she's even worked on, like, The Godfather and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like, she's done a lot. So, it was sad that she just kind of had to, you know, move out of Hollywood.
Could you imagine, like, if The Godfather...
Because he blacklisted her.
Could you imagine, like, if The Godfather was made today, that scene with Johnny Fontaine, Godfather, this could really help my career. You know, what can I do? You stop at being a man. Hey, Godfather, don't you impose gender roles on me, okay? That's my trigger word. I'm like, oh, these kids. What am I gonna do with you? Fangool, you with your triggers. So, sorry, let my inner Goomba out. So. Oh boy. So anyway, what else we got? Any more questions?
Yeah, let's take one or two more questions, and then we should probably wrap her up here.
You're okay. We're gonna have. It's gonna be. You're all gonna have to fight over who's gonna have the last couple questions. We're gonna have. It's gonna be a battle royale death match. Get on your mark. Get set. Go.
If they want a Carrie Poppins figure now, you got to make one, Rob.
Oh my God.
You want a Carrie Poppins figure?
Yeah.
I'm Carrie Poppins. How does she go? I'm Carrie Poppins, y'all. I can't do my voice. So okay,
Is he cool?
I will draw you Carrie Poppins fan art.
Goomba, truth,
I will do this.
truth, hope, love. Goomba. Goomba is a slang for an Italian, or like an Italian kind of like a wise guy. So that's where that comes from.
Or a turtle in Mario Brothers.
So Luke was not a Mary
What would
Sue.
you do for a Klondike bar? I don't know. It depends on what kind of Klondike bar it is.
I'd go to the store and buy one. That's what I'd do.
Neil wants to
Yeah,
know,
Klondike bars are not rare or difficult to obtain.
was The Last Jedi soundtrack good? It wasn't nearly as memorable as Force Awakens, in my opinion. I really liked Rey's theme in The Force Awakens. I will say that. I didn't really remember anything memorable after that. So yeah.
Let's see what we got.
I liked Rey's introduction in The Force
Bringing
Awakens.
back
That was actually really
cookies
cute.
easy. Medichlorians. Yes, they have the answer to
Could have
everything.
made it good, but they didn't. That's what makes me so mad. Is there are like bits and pieces of good movie here and there, and like people who like they're like creative people who are obviously on the scene that actually do love these movies and are doing their best and like do care about them, but they're just such little cogs in this giant disastrous machine that like it's total. There's nothing they can do, and it makes me so sad. It would almost be better if it was like even worse, because then I could just have complete contempt for it. But it's just so close yet so far. So far.
Dead Schooled actually is KK tanking Star Wars on purpose, a la Trading Space's $1 bet.
There's people who think so.
Mundane Matt actually said she might be tired of it. She might be.
Well, there was people who said that she feels like she was kind of forced into it, and I would kind of understand that if somebody like George Lucas came to you and asked you to do this, and Steven Spielberg kind of pushed you into it too, you would probably do it. And if you weren't really up for the job, I don't know if you'd really do it on purpose, but maybe subconsciously. And yes, Cat Sith, the video will be up after we're done. It does take a little time to process, but it will be up.
A couple more. Okay. Do you think the Ziploc? Do you think the Boba Fett movie is becoming a reality? Yes, I think they're going to do that. Are we excited for the Happy Time Murders?
Hell yes.
Yes, hell yeah! And I might be going to see Joel McHale on the 23rd, so that might be that.
Awesome.
So yes.
Geno X 1987. Should they make live action Star Wars movie of Rebels? It would be cool to maybe throw some of those characters in there. I mean, I like what's his face from Rogue One was a character in Rebels and Clone Wars. The Forrest Whitaker played. Yeah. Or no, not Jimmy. Yeah. So I mean, I would see more. I would like to see some of that. Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with Rebels, so I'll take your word.
Can you upload more videos like for MCU, etc.? We've got a lot of stuff on the way, Fusion. So keep an eye out for that. We have an Ant-Man video, but I think we're going to hold that off closer to Ant-Man 2,
I kind of enjoyed Ant-Man. That was so cheesy and cute.
Ant-Man was fun. Ant-Man was fun. It was a fun movie.
Come
on,
any more
couple
questions?
more.
Why is Rey... Elikerd 5 asks, why is Rey in The Force Awakens to begin with when it was basically Finn's story? Well, I guess that's...
Needed to stand in for Kathleen Kennedy.
I don't know.
I thought she was very important to the story.
I was going to say, I have a feeling JJ had bigger plans for her.
Protagonist in a movie.
I think JJ had a lot bigger plans for her.
Yeah. I feel like Rey disappoints me so much because she could have been so good, and they've just done so many things wrong with her character that it bums me out, because I find Daisy Ridley to be very charming and I like her performance, but a lot of the time the writing is just so weird. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Is she super strong and super smart, or is she super dumb and super weak? It's like they just like yo-yo back and forth between the two. And I'm just like, cool, okay. No consistency then. All right.
Very inconsistent character.
Tyon Ranger asks, Rob Shlomo, would an Ahsoka movie do well?
Probably. I'm not that familiar with the character, so
she's all right. She's got a little following, so I can see her doing all right. I don't see it doing like big numbers, but that's maybe what they need to do is a little bit more smaller projects than what Solo was.
A lot of people want a Mara Jade movie, which would, and I will have no problem.
I wonder. I said that. I was like, I wonder if they're setting up Emil Clark's character to become Mara Jade. But yeah. Anyway, quick thoughts.
One more. One or two, couple more.
Rainbolt says, quick thoughts on the CBS Viacom drama. It's
a
just
mess.
that. It's drama. It's going to get interesting. It's been interesting.
Spicy.
Yeah. And Neil, of course, we know Neil Ganty. Do you believe that Rey after The Last Jedi is a Mary Sue or a bland character at this point? Problem with Rey in The Last Jedi was she was like a completely different character almost.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sam Lucas, who should replace Kathleen? I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
do it.
Yeah, Rob will do it.
I think you'd do a good job, Rob.
Yeah.
At least I'd say no. This sucks. Do it again. So, go get me Joe Johnston. Pay him whatever he wants.
Oh shit! We get a Salacious B. Crumb movie.
Cy Snoodles, the Star Wars story.
She, did you know what to get her way to the top, and now she's there.
When is your next live chat? Pretty soon, I guess.
Now. Well, we're trying to figure out a schedule, but this just happened to be kind of like breaking news, so it just turned into a long ass chat. Do you think it'd be Dead Schooled asks, do you think it'd be plausible for DCEU to start doing random projects like Batman Ninja? I think they kind of have a plan. If
DC stopped taking themselves so seriously, I feel like I would enjoy their movie so much more.
I think they do have a plan, though, to do kind of like... and that's what goes with this whole Joker thing, too. Joker movie thing is they're kind of going to have a separate set of movies and other things. So you never know. That's a possibility, especially with the streaming service coming up. So let's take one or two more here. Michael Keller... Do you think we'll ever know how the first version of Solo's been before they changed it? No. We'll never know. Not unless somebody on the inside leaks the film. They were only 70% done, too. This is a lot like the whole Justice League / what have you type situation, to where the movie wasn't completely finished when Lord and Miller were fired. And then Ron Howard almost reshot the whole entire movie, and they just used 30% of whatever Lord and Miller did, probably mostly effect shots and stuff like that.
Let's make this the final. Let's make this the final question. Snake 56, Rey versus Michael Burnham. Who would win in that matchup? We all lose.
I feel like Rey would win.
Rey would win, but you'd have to ask Michael Burnham to find out because she would know.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's true.
Okay,
though.
all right. I feel that's like kind of a cheesy question. One more. Make it a good one, guys. Should Rey turn to the dark side?
It would have been
That'd be more interesting.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I thought that's the route they were going to go with Rey in this last movie, and having her kind of side with Kylo.
They built stuff up for her to be drawn to the dark side, and then didn't seem to do much with it.
And that would have been an interesting arc for Luke to come back and gain his own redemption in his own eyes by bringing her back, possibly, and his old
that could have been really cool if they did that.
She did, after all. She went right towards the big, giant, dark force butthole.
Immediately.
I told you to get off my lawn. I told you not to go towards the hole, and you still did it. Now get off my lawn.
Okay. Okay. Let's. I think maybe Disney edits out Slave Land. No, that's in there.
They won't make any more toys, though. They said.
No more toys.
I got my poster. Thank God.
Yeah. I think we should. That's a pretty good place to wrap it up.
Probably.
Right,
I think we're getting a little off course.
Yeah. Well, we'd like to thank Ren for joining us. Ren, always a pleasure.
On such very short notice, I'm sure.
Yes.
I was super happy to be here. It's a great time, as always.
Yes. I want to thank you guys for listening. A whole bunch of you out there. I was surprised. I can't believe this. We actually had over 250 viewers.
Yes.
It was so popular.
Yes. I was very happy to see that. So thanks. You guys made that happen. So, and thank you especially to you guys who gave us the tips. That is awesome. So Rob can eat this week.
And tonight, I get the large fries. So anyway, tonight is Archer's 100th episode. Tune in for that. Archer's been pretty good this season.
I didn't realize the new season was out yet. Now I know what I'm going to binge watch this week.
So we'd like to thank Ren. We'd like all of you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
And for the blood sport, it was very entertaining.
Yes, and like I said, as they say in the Highlander, there can only So
There can only be one.
and we're gonna do this again very soon. We're
We'll
gonna
let
work
you know
on
the
the schedule
schedule.
for yeah. But again, we'd like to thank you all. This video will be up shortly for those who want to review it. If in case you missed it, pass it along to your friends, pass it along to your neighbors.
In the
pass it
meantime, you
along
can
to
check
your
out last
enemies.
night's episode with Mundane Matt if you'd like.
Absolutely. Check out last night's episode of Mundane Matt. And as always, click the bell icon and subscribe.
Yes, double check.
Ding.
We cannot do this without you. So one more time, for myself, for Ren, for the entire world, we would like to say thank you for joining us and
May the
good
force
evening.
be with you.
Yes. May the Schwartz be with